Kia ora. In this Scratch Junior activity, we're going to look at how to make a simple Matariki project. In this project, students could look at each of the main stars in the cluster and share some information about them. They could also ask questions for their users to answer. This could be a collaborative project where several students work together, or it could be an individual project. I'll start by showing you an example of what it could look like and then take you through some of the steps to creating it. As usual, in the description, there'll be a link to notes that show you the links to the digital technologies areas of the New Zealand technology curriculum. So let's start with the example. So we start off by starting off a new project. And I'm not going to use Scratch for this, so I press and hold, and that will bring up the cross so that I can delete him. First thing you need is a background, so some sort of nighttime background works well for this. So select the background, click the tick to get your background. You're then going to add the stars. So they'll be added as sprites on the left-hand side, so you click the plus button. And if you scroll down, there are a few stars that are available here. So there's 3 different stars there. So if I choose this one, for example, I could use that just as it is, or I could click on the paintbrush tool up in the top right, and I could recolor that. For instance, I could make that into a yellow star, for example. Then I just drag the star to the place where I want it on the screen, and then I'll proceed to add some more stars. So I'll want some different sized stars because there are some smaller ones. I'm only going to put 7 of the stars on. You can, if you want to, of course, have 9 of them, or even more if you want, because the cluster does have quite a few stars. It pays to use some sort of star diagram which shows you the positioning of the various stars. Okay, so I've got my 7 stars on here now. Which are more or less in the right position. Of course, you can spend a bit of time making sure that they are where they need to be. I'm actually going to change this one out for a bigger one. I could have increased the size of it, but I'm just going to use one of the bigger stars for this. And place that there, and I think I might even increase the size of it as well. So to increase the size of the star, I go to the purple menu, make sure that I've got that star selected over on the left-hand side, and choose the increase tool, which is the second one along, and that'll just make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So there's a lot of things that you can do once you have the stars, and students can have a really good discussion about what sort of things they would like to do with these stars. So you can add text to the whole screen. In the middle at the top is the ABC button, and you can add some text. Now, if you want to, you can resize that text. So on where the 3 A's are, if you click there, and then you can click on a smaller A, for example. And also, because this is against a dark background, I want to have a light coloured text. I'm going to click on the paint pot on the right-hand side, and I'm going to choose white, although yellow works quite well as well. And then I'm just going to let that go, and then I can drag that text down underneath the stars. And of course, you can add as much text as you want, but line by line. So you can add more text, but it doesn't return at the end of a line. So as soon as you get to the end of the line, you need to finish that one, and then you need to start a new line and then add that underneath. Now, the next thing I'm going to look at is how to make the stars twinkle. There's 2 ways that you can do this. One of them is to have them hiding and showing again. And if you brainstorm with students, that's often one that they'll come up with. However, I haven't found that particularly satisfactory, because sometimes if you stop it in the middle, you'll end up with it still being hidden. Then you have to bring it back. And it does, have a few difficulties, and sometimes it just doesn't work right. So I found that the best way to do this, and you could let students have an experiment to see for themselves which way they like, is to grow and shrink. So I use the grow tool and the shrink tool in the pink menu. And in the orangey yellow menu, I go and get the timer block. And again, a bit of experimentation, but usually just having about a 1 second delay will make the star look like it's twinkling. So if we press there, it'll go on and off. Now, we don't want it to just twinkle once, so we're going to use that repeat block and pop that around the whole thing. Oops, haven't quite got that one, so we'll pop that in as well. So at the moment it says 4, so I might, for instance, make that 50. Again, experimenting with the timing for this, because you're going to have an option where the user can tap on the various stars to see the star's name, or there could be extra information about each star. So you'll need to sort of time it so that the user is able to do all those things before going to the next screen. Or you could have a button that goes to that screen. So now we have 1 star twinkling, but we also need to go to the yellow menu and start that on the flag, so that we can copy that code to all of the stars. So when the flag is pushed, all of the stars will start twinkling at once. Now, the easiest way is to copy that code. So I'm going to click on the flag, tap on the flag, and I'm going to drag that whole bit of code up onto the next star and then let it go. And if I click on that next star, you'll see that code has been copied onto it. So that saves me from writing it again. And I can do that with the next one and the next one. Just check that the code is there. And then I'm going to scroll up to get the other ones onto there, and onto the last star. Just checking again that all of those stars have got it. So now if I press the green flag, we've got all of the stars twinkling. Now, if you don't want them all twinkling in time with each other, you could add a 1 second delay into some of them. So if I pop that in there and just have a 1 second delay for that one, and maybe this one. And let's have a look at that again. So now I'm going to have it. I'm going to scroll up to the first star again, and just tap on it. So now I'm going to have the stars give information when they're tapped. So I'll need to add another line of text to tell the user to do that. So I'm going to click on that ABC button in the center top again and tap the star to see its name. Now, it depends what you want to have for this. I'm going to have it just say its name, but as I said before, you could have a lot more information in that. So they could, it'll be speech bubbles, so it could be speech bubbles with more information, little information about the stars. Or they can even add a recording to that, which I'll talk about in a minute. So this is just a fraction big, so I'm going to click the A again and make it a bit smaller. I'm going to tap the paint box to make it white. Now I'm going to bring that line down underneath there. So now I've got the instructions and I've got each star. So now we're going to look at how we can have the stars give across some information when they are tapped. So I've started by tapping on the Matariki star, and I'm going to go to the yellow menu, and I'm going to get the second block along, the one with the finger tapping person, which means that it will do something once the star is tapped. Then I can go to the pink menu and get the speech bubble and tap on that and then backspace, and now I'm going to pop in the name of the star. Now this one doesn't need any macrons, but if I did need a macron, I hold the letter down and then I get to choose the macron. I just slide my finger across and let go, and that would put a macron letter. Okay, so once I've done that, I can then add a speech bubble with some more information. It doesn't pay to have too much information in one speech bubble. You're better off sticking with one sentence at a time and then having a new speech bubble for each of the sentences. If they want to, students could also record their voice talking about the stars. So that's in the green menu. And if they want to do that, they tap on the microphone, and then tap on the red button, then do their recording and then push the green tick. That creates a new code block, which they then drag down. I'm not going to use that one, so I'm just going to throw that one away. So I can also add another scene if I want to. So if I don't want to have too much information on one screen, I can add a new screen. So over on the right-hand side, if I click the plus, I can again go to my backgrounds and choose the background, push the tick. Now, if I want to have those same stars with their twinkling code, I can go back to the first screen, and if I click on a star and just drag it across, so I need to click so that it doesn't get the red cross, and drag it across to the new screen and then let go, that will put, that star will now be in the new scene, and it carries across all its code. Now I don't want it to be saying the same thing, so I'd get rid of that, but it gives me the twinkling code all ready to go, and I could add in some new information there. I can also press and hold on Scratch to get rid of him. And of course, I can use the blue ABC button at the top center to type some new text to add to the screen as well. So I'll go back to the first screen. In order to change from one screen to another, there are a couple of ways I can do that. And one of them is that I could have it at the end of one of these stars. So when it gets to 50 rotations through, I could have a change scene button. So I would go to the red change scene button. Because I've added a scene, there's now a button there with the new scene on it, and I can pop that on the end. So as soon as this one, and I might make that one perhaps up to 51, so it did one more rotation than all the others, so I know that they're finished. And then this will execute. It will change it to the next scene. As I said before, experiment with that number as to how many rotations you need for people to have time to click on each of the stars and read the information. This is a good one where students can test their code by giving it to users to try, and then based on feedback adjusting the number of repeats. Another way that you can change scenes is by putting in another object. For instance, you could have a little picture of Scratch in the corner with a little message underneath saying click Scratch to go to the next scene. So for instance, if I went here, I'm going to just add this big star, and I'm going to pop it down here, and I could go to the text and go click the big star to go to the next scene. I'm just going to show you what happens if you don't start on a new line. So you'll notice how that's all scrolled across. But as soon as I come down to here, I've got two problems. One, it's black, so I'll go back and make it white. But as you can see, it will only show part of that text. So I go tap on it again, go to the A's, and I'm going to try with the next A down and see if that fits. And yep, that is just enough. So I can just fit that big star in there. And then on the big star, I'm now going to have a yellow menu when tapped button, and then the red menu change scenes button. So now if I click the yellow star, it will move to my next scene. Okay, so that's basically it. You can add up to 4 scenes. As I said, students can record information, they can write story in those text boxes, or they can have each star telling a particular piece of information. So lots of different ways that they can share information, and by having 4 different screens, there's lots of room for there to be a lot of information about the Matariki cluster of stars. Thank you for watching. I hope your students enjoy having a try at this activity.